Hello everyone, my name's Jene and welcome to Diamond Painting Reviews by Jene. For those of you that are new to my channel, a big howdy and welcome to my YouTube family. For those of you that are just stopping by, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that notification bell, and for those of you that are returning, what's up? I hope you're all doing very well on this really warm spring day. And before we get started on this whip and chat, I just wanted to apologize to all of you. I was planning on doing a video last week, but unfortunately I have been a bit under the weather and I'm hoping that I get rid of this cold soon. Unfortunately, my husband decided to give me a gift called a cold and it just seems to be lingering on, and there's nothing worse than having a spring summer cold. There's just nothing worse. I hope all of you will understand. Unfortunately, I do sound a bit nasally. Sometimes I may cough or kind of try to clear my throat. Yeah, you know, one of those things. I still don't feel that great, but I wanted to post this video and say hello to all of you, especially to those that are participating in the Magical Dreams event. I do want to say that I have been seeing all of your guys' progress pictures and they look absolutely amazing. So if you want to see those progress pictures, I'm going to be posting those at the end of the video like a collage, and I hope you guys enjoy that. With that being said, we're going to do a small whip and chat, so grab your whips, grab something to drink, and let's get to it. So this is as far as I've gotten with mine, and as I said, I have been so ill that I just haven't been able to work on my project, but I just wanted to show you how far I have gotten. I'm about maybe a quarter way through, not quite, but close. And I've got the castle done up here. It looks really, really pretty. I have decided to do something a little bit different. I don't think anyone's ever tried this before, but once I do the full post review, I will tell you what it's about. I do have a lot of crystals in here. As I said before, I want to highlight certain parts of this canvas, and I think it's doing really, really good. But you let me know what you think. And let's get myself situated here. I had to take everything off the table so that I could show you how this looks. And let's just put all of this back now. Oops. I'm afraid I'm going to drop everything. There we go. I'm currently working just in this area here. I have a little bit left to go. Turn that on. I always work with a light pad, guys. It doesn't matter if the painting is easy to read and follow without a light pad. I always use a light pad, and that's because I have to wear bifocals, and for me to be able to see the symbols even without a light pad, it can be a struggle. So that's why I always have that light pad on. Okay, so bring my crystals over here and my ABs. Okay, so the title to this whip and chat is, you know, spring has sprung in Manitoba when, and I left it at that. So I'm going to be talking to you about what happened to me when I went to work, and it wasn't this last Wednesday because I ended up working from home. It was the Wednesday before, and this is what I wanted to share with you last week. So let me get myself situated here. I'm going to be putting some putty in these pins so I can, oops, start working. And for those of you that are wondering, I only use putty. I don't use wax. I found that putty is far easier to work with, and the longevity is far better than wax. It takes a little bit of time to get used to working with putty if you haven't worked with it before. And it can be kind of a hassle to pack it into the tips. But I find that it is just far better than working with wax. And believe me, I have tried many types of wax, and I just never got that really good longevity out of it where I do with the putty. I get my putty from two different places. One is called Sensible by Design. It's a small Etsy store here in Canada. And I also get, my putty from another Etsy store called Enchanted Succulent. Sorry, it takes me a little bit to remember that one. Both places are excellent as far as their putty is concerned. The difference I find between the two is that the putty that I get from Sensible by Design doesn't stick to the drill area like the other putty does from Enchanted Succulent. But again, both great places if you're looking for putty. I am so sorry. I feel like I'm sounding nasally, so I hope you guys understand. So we're just going to put that in there. And get a little bit more so I can fill up a third one. So what I usually do with my putties is I get it packed onto my blunt tweezers. I'm going to rub it off, and then I'm just going to give it a bit of a press from either the back of the tweezer, the side of the tweezer, whichever way you want to call it. And then I'm going to take my sharp tweezers, close them, and then use them as a packing tool to put the product in there. Now, I am going to tell you this. Be very, very careful if you pack this way, because the sharp tweezers, if you don't put it in right and it goes into your finger, it's going to hurt. And believe me, guys, I have done that a few times. So I've learned that when I use these tweezers to pack, I'm going to be extremely careful doing that. But the nice thing is once you get it nicely packed in there, you just take your tweezers and you move it to the side, give it a pinch, and it comes right off. And then I just put it back into my jar and close it up. Make sure you close the putty up because it will dry out if you don't. Okay, so I am now ready to go and just need to pick a color. So I'm going to go with 3, which is right here. Pour some in, give it a shake. So what I'm using as far as my tray is, this is the hinge tray. Again, a really nice Etsy find if you haven't seen this one, as a unboxing that I did about a year ago, maybe a little over. This tray here has its stopper right here, but it's a hinge tray, so it just goes over to the side, and then when you dump it out, you can close your hinge, and that way the remaining drills don't slip out. Really love these trays, and I'm hoping she sells more because I would like to get a few more. The pins that you see, I'm just going to bring them up so that you can see them. These are from Captured by Radiance. My sister turns these pins, and these 2 pins are fairly chunky. I love this pin because it's really, really nice in the hand. And it, like I said, it's fairly chunky. Really love hybrids. This one here is called Cocobello, and it is a wood pin. Again, nice and chunky for me, and very lightweight if you're looking for a lightweight pin. This is a diamond cast pin that she made for me last year for my birthday. It's fairly chunky, but it's not as chunky as these 2. So if you like chunky pins, check out Captured by Radiance because she is doing custom pins now. And if you like chunky pins, she can make these pins for you. So I'm going to work with this one. This is my favorite pin. What else am I working with? Besides the putty, again, this putty comes from Sensible by Design. Sorry, I had to think about that. And I guess that's about it. So let's get started in the story, because guys, this is funny. Okay, again, you know spring has sprung in Manitoba when the two-legged feather devils have come back from the south. Yes, you heard me right. The two-legged feather devils, also known as the Canadian geese. If you have not experienced the Canadian goose, you don't want to do, you don't want it, let's just put it this way. You don't want to be chased by one, because I was chased by one. I've been chased by a few of them, not this last year, but a couple of years back. The Canadian goose is a beautiful, elegant bird. It is the Canadian bird, or the national bird, I should say. Here in Manitoba, it's the mosquito, but that's a whole different story. But, excuse me, the Canadian goose is, I would say, a mid-size bird. It's about the same size of a turkey in height. I don't know if they weigh the same. It's kind of hard to tell because there's totally different species, but the Canadian goose. Let's talk about this. If you've never been chased or approached by a Canadian goose, believe me guys, you don't want to be. They're nasty. These birds, as beautiful and elegant as they may seem, they are very much, it's not the word, territorial, I think it's called. I can't say it right, but they protect their territory. And they're very protective of their offspring, and they're very protective of their mate. One interesting thing about the Canadian goose is they find their mate, and that's their mate for life. So if something happens to that mate, the other mate will not search for another mate. I hope that makes sense. So they are mates for life, regardless of if anything ever happens to one of the mates. They're not easy to tell apart, but they are beautiful. So let me tell you what happened to me Wednesday, going to work and then trying to come home. I work in an area called Bluff. It's just outside of the city limits of Winnipeg. And I was getting ready for work. I got in my car, drove to work, and as I was approaching our office, I never really look, right? I mean, we have, I'm going to have to explain this to you, so that, sorry about the dogs. So sorry about the dogs. But I have to explain it to you. So our office is right off of the highway. And there's probably a good 500 feet from the highway to our parking lot. And between that 500 feet is like a huge amount of grass. I don't know what they're planning on doing with that eventually, if that's just, it's not city property, it would be provincial property. I don't know what they plan on doing it, but it's a fairly big chunk of property. And when I came into park, you have to kind of go off of the highway and you go around to the back of the buildings, and then there's a section there where you just kind of follow along and you get into the parking lot. So I get in the parking lot and I park in my favorite spot. I'm usually the second person that arrives at work. If you arrive before 7:45, you have to enter the building with what we call a fob. And there's a plate on the door. You hit it with the fob and it unlocks the door for you. So I usually arrive at work between 6:45 and 7 in the morning. So I have to enter the building with the fob. So I park my car, and as I parked my car, I looked up and I noticed that there was a pair of Canadian geese munching on some grass, and they were probably about 200 yards away from me, so I wasn't too concerned. one thing about Canadian geese, and I'm pretty sure I probably said this before, but maybe not, you don't want to approach them. You just don't. You try to stay away from them as much as you can. And because they were so far away, I thought, you know, it's not going to be a big deal because they're way over there and I'm over here. So I grabbed my bag, I put it on my arm, I grabbed my extra large Tim Hortons coffee, which was very hot, and I had it in my hand. I grabbed my purse in my other hand, and I grabbed my keys and made sure I had the fob upright so that all I had to do is click on it. And I opened up the door, and as I opened up the door, one of the geese lifted up his head, craned his neck, and was looking right at me. And I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, because that bird now was paying attention to me. And I thought, oh boy. So I tried to get out of my car as quickly as possible. And as I was getting ready to shut the door, I looked at the corner of my eye. Here comes this Canadian goose, wings flapping, hissing, and making a beeline. I mean, literally running like a bat out of hell towards me. And I'm like, oh crap. So I shut the door as quickly as I could. And I tried to run to the front door because I needed to get into the building. And I thought, this bird is literally making up some speed. And so as I got to the door and there was the fob pad, I hit the fob on there at least 3 times. I finally heard the door click, and I opened up the door, rushed in. And at that time I realized, oh no, now I have to disarm the alarm in the building. And the door that we have is not the type of door that closes fast. It closes really slow. And this bird is gaining ground on me. And I thought, oh crap, that door isn't going to shut. And I'm going to be locked in this cubicle with that bloody bird. And like I said, he's running full speed, flapping his wings and just hissing. I mean, and that hissing you can hear from a ways. So finally, I'm sitting there trying to punch the code to the alarm so that the alarm doesn't go off. And just as I punched the last number, I can hear the click of the door. And I was afraid, but I turned around to see where the bird was, and it was on the other side of the door, thank God. But he was right there, and his wings were just going at it. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God I got in here without being beat up by those wings. I have been hit by these birds with their wings, and I have been bitten by them. And believe me, it's not pleasant. It hurts, and they will leave marks, and it will leave bruises. So I was so glad that the door finally closed. So anyway, the rest of the day, I started working, and around 10 o'clock in the morning, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take half the day off. I've got a lot of things I needed to do. I needed to run around, drop off packages and things like that. And I had worked overtime on the weekend prior. So I asked my boss, I said, you know, do you mind if I take that 4 hours off and take the afternoon off? And he's like, sure, go right ahead. So that's what I did. And I went up to the receptionist and I told her, I said, listen, I'm taking half the day off, so I'm leaving at noon. Is everything going to be okay? And she says, well, I'll make sure everything gets transferred to your cell. I said, great. I said, I have a question for you. And she said, like, sure, what's that? And I'm like, when you came in, because she comes in early too, I said, when you came in, did you have any problems with the geese out there? And she says, I didn't have any problems coming into the building. I noticed them and they were watching me. She said, but I didn't have any problems coming into the building. She says, however, when I went on my walk, because she walks for an hour before she starts working, and she walks around the entire complex. She said a couple of times when I would come around the corner, she said one of them would get really perked up, crane their neck, and then she says all of a sudden it would chase me. And I said, how many times did that happen? She said 2 times. This bird would chase me, and it would chase me for quite a length or quite a stretch. and then it would back off. She said, but when I'd come around the corner, it would be there again. I thought, oh my God. So I just kind of chuckled and I said, well, hopefully they're gone, because I want to take off at noon, and I definitely don't want to get into another chase with that bird. So around 10 after 12, I got ready to go, grab my stuff, and I headed to the front of the building. And again, I stopped off and spoke to the receptionist to remind her that I was leaving. She says, no, not a problem. Everything's been switched over to your cell phone. And I thought, great. So I anticipated that the two-legged feathery devil was still out there. And so I started slowly going out to the parking lot, and there's all the cars are out there. So you can't really see beyond the cars other than if it's far out. And I didn't see any of the geese out there. So I thought, okay, I'm safe. I'm safe. I don't have to worry about them coming at me again. And I started approaching my car. And as I got close enough to the driver's side door, I noticed something moving, and I thought, oh no, that pair of Canadian geese were sitting in front of my car. And I thought, oh my God, now what do I do? Now it's pretty sad when you're afraid to approach these birds, like I said, but still, they hurt. So anyway, I was sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do here? Do I push the fob and unlock the door because it's pretty loud when it unlocks? Or do I take my chance and open it through the keyhole, which also would cause a little bit of noise? And I thought to myself, I'd be safer to do the fob, because at least I can open the door up really quick, throw my stuff in the car and jump in, versus giving them enough time to run around the car and beat me up with those wings. I'm trying to get my key out of the car door. So that's what I did. And as soon as I pushed that button and you heard that click, and of course it had to be loud, all of a sudden one of the birds I could see popped up, got on his legs, and was looking right at me. And I'm like, oh no. So I opened up my door as quick as I could, and I threw my stuff on the passenger side seat, jumped in my car, shut the door, and I thought, there, you can't get me now. I'm telling you, these birds can be so bad. So that was my experience that day, and I'm hoping to God I don't have to experience it again. So with that being said, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm going to end it because my throat is really starting to bother me. And I know this isn't a very long whip and chat, but I wanted to share that story with you. I hope you found it funny. And remember to always stay away from those birds. You don't want to be chased. Oh, with that being said, guys, please take care of yourselves. And I'm going to end with, always remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and always stay happy, guys. Love you all. Take care, and stay tuned for the collage of beautiful progress pictures for the Magical Dream event. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.